All right. I'm pretty excited to have John Morgan in the house.
It's good to be here.
What's going on?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot's going on.
I mean, a lot for you.
Yeah, a lot of flying lately.
You like flying a lot?
Sure. Yeah, it's there's perks for sure. I like not having to drive through the middle of the night when we're doing late runs. That's nice.
Are you bussing it these days or are you vanning it?
Vanning.
Okay, so you're making some money then, actually. Or trying to.
Yeah, sure.
Because if you're in a bus, there's it's pretty much like
bus, is there?
There's no money in a bus.
No, that's true.
I know. What do you think
we
about it?
at least have a chance at making money. We'll put it that way.
Isn't it crazy, though, all the work that you have to do, all the travel, all the energy, all the people that are coming with you, all the energy exhausted, and still you barely make money, especially someone like you who has like a #1 with Jason Aldean, Crickets, like huge song on the radio, like you're blowing up, but it's still like people think, oh, you must be like rolling in the dough.
Yeah, there is that conception. I think, I don't know. I started out writing. I've been a writer for like the last 3 or 4 years predominantly, and that's kind of kept us afloat on the road over the last couple of years. So it definitely helps, but it doesn't stick around very long most of the time. There's a lot going on the back end of things that, if you're not in it, you probably wouldn't think about it, so it adds up, but it's been good. We've been all over the country. We just got back from Cali, so I don't know what time zone I'm in right now, but I'm here.
Central.
You're
back. Are you living in Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just had a third baby?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Well, I didn't have it, but
your wife is a rock star. She y'all are kind of back to back, right?
Yeah.
How old are they?
My oldest daughter just turned 3. My son's gonna be 2 in October, and then we got a 4-month-old.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I make my days off count. I really do.
So you just decided you're just going to have the most jam-packed years of your life. Like you're going to have this magical moment where you get discovered from an Uber and Jason Aldean becomes your best friend.
Yeah.
And then you write like 16 songs for him or something.
Yeah.
And then you decide to put your own song out as a duet with him and then have 3 babies on top of it and tour nonstop.
Yeah.
Did you get married in there too?
Sounds like a good plan, right?
Did you get married in all that time, or have you been married before? Like, when did you and Haley?
I have not been married before.
When did
just
you?
to clarify.
When did you and your wife get married?
Let's see, 3 years ago, or 3 years in. So.
Okay, so y'all just got right to babies.
Yeah, just don't worry about the math on that.
Who's doing everything in order these days?
Not me, that's for sure. No, it's been great, man. I feel like if you do plan certain things in your life, they probably never happen, and
that
it's
is very
like
true.
You just plan, and then, keep putting it off for whatever reason. And not to say that my way was the best way, but sometimes, you get blessings in disguise and you just kind of, appreciate them after the fact. And then when you're in it, you're like, wow, I needed this, like this was good for me. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, it's been, it's been fun trying to sleep. It's been fun. Not too much time for that, but yeah, back to the airplanes. I do sleep pretty good on an airplane now. So
that's good.
That's good. Yeah. Especially 6-hour flight back from Sacramento.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I slept. So.
Okay, so you have a couple. You're kind of a surprise guy. So like pregnancy, a little bit of surprise. Like Jason Aldean calling you on the phone, changing your life, a little bit of surprise. You're kind of like a blessed guy.
I guess so.
You get like big blessings.
I'm extremely blessed. Like I said, I feel like I just kind of take it as it comes, and me and Ruby are just vibing so good.
Ruby's
right
in
now.
love. She's just
my
like
spirit animal.
She came here. She threw herself on you. She's like, I am born to love.
Yeah.
And you're a big dog guy, I can tell.
Yeah, I am. I get 2 myself. I've had a Lab Retriever mix since she was like 5 weeks old, and when I moved to Nashville, I couldn't bring her with me, so she lived at my parents' house for like 3 years. And then I finally got to bring her back down, so she's back. But I love dogs.
Okay, so you grew up in North Carolina
Mm-hmm.
in a really small town.
Yeah.
Okay, how many people?
I'm not sure what the population is now. I think when I was coming up, it's probably like 2,500, which is
Okay, so you
Yeah.
definitely knew everybody.
yeah.
Yeah. What's that like growing
small.
up in a town like that?
I loved it, honestly. I felt like, I mean, it obviously depends on the community you're in, right? Like, I feel like if you're in a rough community, that's not ideal. But thankfully, I kind of came up in just a small little mountain town up in the Blue Ridge Parkway area in the Smokies, and I don't know, just good people there. Yeah, I feel like probably the reason for that is just very deeply rooted. Like, there's a lot of my mom's side of the families live there forever. I grew up in the same house my mom grew up in, that kind
No
of thing.
way.
So, yeah.
Stop. That's cool.
So yeah, it goes back pretty far, but I enjoyed my time in North Carolina, and especially coming up, there was, forced you to be outside. There wasn't like a lot going on like there is, downtown in a big city where you can go and do things. You kind of gotta, make up things to do. So
Big imagination.
Yeah. Not really anything smart came out of that.
What were some of your escapades when you were growing up?
We just honestly, we liked to go on. A lot of my buddies had like Jeeps and stuff, so we would go out and just find a place to get stuck and then try to pull each other out.
What is that with guys? I do not understand that in the slightest.
We're just waiting for something to break, so somebody can pull their toolbox out. I don't know. It's just killing time and being out in the woods. That was my biggest thing. I just liked being out, in nature, and like doing used to do a lot of backpacking, and we would go hike up a place called Siler's Ball back home, and we'd just go camp for a couple nights and enjoy that part of the country. It's a beautiful place to grow up, and you don't really acknowledge it until you leave and come back, honestly.
I know when you grow up in a small town, you kind of feel like, do you feel like maybe like you want to ever like escape, possibly want to see a bigger city and want to see what's out there? And then once you get out there, you're like, man, how do I get back here? I can't get back here fast enough.
Yeah, that was kind of me with Nashville. I was just kind of like, thankfully I knew what I wanted to do when I moved here. So it definitely helped, on that end of things. Like, I knew I was moving here, but I was also excited about, just being in a different place for a minute and kind of being, on my own. I'd lived on my own for a while, but, it's just different when you're in a different place and you have 3 friends as opposed to knowing everybody, right? Like we were talking about. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I feel like Nashville's a good city to live in, too. It's not, like, too overwhelmingly big, but it's still kind of got a small town feel, especially if you're in the music industry. I feel like everybody knows everybody. So
it's getting bigger, though. I mean,
it's
definitely
bigger,
growing.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have any encounters in the woods when you were growing up with anything crazy?
Like a Bigfoot encounter or something?
I feel like if you're camping out there all the time, I just want to know, like, did anything crazy happen out there when you're sleeping in the woods?
I'm trying to think. I've had some sketchy people come up on me because like where I grew up, part of the App Trail cuts through there, so you can kind of hop on part of the App Trail. You can honestly hike it as long as you want, and then kind of get off at different locations. So there's always some interesting folks coming through there that have like been in the woods for a month, and there's like extremely rural, and I've had a few of those encounters, but not anything. I think I've had a bear come up on me one time, but bears are not like.
What do you do when a bear comes up on you?
Honestly, I don't know how they are anywhere else really, but back home they're pretty skittish because they're just like, we just predominantly have black bears. So if you like make a loud noise or move quickly, they just run off most of the time. But definitely don't pet them. I saw that trend happening where people are like petting bears and stuff, and like
it's a terrible trend.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
That's a little over the line.
I would say so.
Yeah. Maybe throw a rock or something first. I've been seeing videos. I don't know why people think that's something to do.
So dumb.
You said it, not me. You said it.
Okay, so you're growing up in North Carolina, 2,500
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
knowing everybody. You're singing with your family. So your mom's a singer and dad?
Not my dad, no.
Okay, so you're just singing with your mom? Are your parents married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your dad's not a singer.
No, my dad was he was the guy that could tell you like any band in the 70s. He could tell
Okay.
you. He could tell you like what show he saw him at back
So
in the day.
he went and saw
like,
shows all the time.
Yeah, he's like the creds guy. Like he was, always looking at the binders and seeing who produced it, when it was, cut and released and all that stuff. So he's like kind of the more database kind of guy. But my mom's kind of more of the musician, like singer. She played piano and stuff. So that's where I learned to like sing harmonies and stuff like that, was from her. But yeah, I wish I would have paid attention to my dad a little more now, because it was, interesting. Now it's like a big part of what I do. People ask me those questions all the time. I'm like, I should probably know that. But
Just bring your dad with you.
Yeah, I should. You would definitely be entertained.
What's he like?
I don't know how to describe him in a short way. No, he's just a funny guy. He's just old school. That's probably the best way to describe him. But yeah, he's very knowledgeable in the music, like terminology, and knowing different bands and stuff that I would never have otherwise known existed, especially in the 70s, because there was like a million underground bands back in the day that people were vibing on, and he was just, I don't know why he knows them, but yeah, that's kind of, I grew up with that side of things. And then my mom was like, I grew up singing in church with my mom and like doing all that stuff too, so kind of had a cool upbringing as far as like music influence.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got an older sister who lives in Columbia, Missouri, and then I've got a younger brother who's he's in Atlanta now.
Were they singing with you, or is it just you and your mom?
No. So my mom really was the one who just kind of taught me, how to hear notes and like harmonies and stuff. And then my two cousins, they started playing instruments and taking lessons about the same time I did.
Okay.
And so we just kind of fell into this like band. We were like a little family band, when we were young. And it snowballed into us like doing 150, 200 dates a year, like through middle school through high school.
You and your cousins?
Yeah, we were gone like every weekend.
Stop.
Yeah.
Y'all were like getting booked?
Oh yeah.
Making money?
Yeah.
Like decent money?
I bought my first 2 cars with music money, cash.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good gig, especially for, at that age, as you're doing something you love doing, you're getting to see the country a little bit. And then I think it was a good foundation for me, like knowing the road life that I know now. Just in the sense of like, you got to enjoy it to be out there. Like,
you
got to love doing it to be out there.
You can't make it if you don't like it.
No.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
And grueling.
Yeah, it's a grind. And I feel like, especially sprinter life is not too enticing to a lot of people for whatever reason.
Why do you think not?
I don't know. I can't figure it out. No.
Crammed in there for hours on end.
Yeah.
With like 6 other dudes.
Yeah. A lot of good smells in that van.
Uh-huh.
No, it's just, I don't know. I'm thankful honestly for that time, because it did, prepare me for this, and I knew what I was getting into when I signed up for it. So I had a good break from it. Out of high school, I left the band, started doing my own thing. That's when I fell in love with songwriting. I was like, This is cool. That whole world kind of opened up to me about, songwriters in town. And, I started noticing certain writers on certain songs with certain artists. And I was like, oh, okay. That started putting 2 and 2 together. And that's when I kind of caught that bug, I just wanted to write my own stuff. So getting to do that now and back on the road. So life is good.
So are you like a manifester? Like, were you like a big Jason Aldean fan or something? Like, did you like manifest that like...
Super fan.
Yeah, were you like listening to all his albums and like knowing all his songs and like, I'm going to write so many songs for him.
Yeah.
And like, he is going to be one of my friends.
Yeah.
Were you like putting that out there? Because y'all's story is insane to me.
Yeah, it is wild. It is wild. I didn't like manifest any of the stuff that's probably happened in the last couple of years, but I did kind of, try to manifest the successful part of it and being like, I am going to make money doing music. That was my goal. I just wanted to do something, that was music related and be able to make a living off of it. And so I knew that, a publishing deal was that ideal situation for me. So that was kind of what I was in full pursuit of when I moved here and just really buckled down. I mean, I was 24, 23 when I moved here. So I was a little bit older than probably most people when they, decide to come to Nashville. But I'm glad because I knew what I wanted to do, right? So I didn't come down here and waste time. Definitely burnt through a lot of money just because of the, difference in rent. I went from paying like $350 in rent to like $1,200. So that was a fun adjustment. But yeah, I mean, Nashville's been very good to me. I have no complaints. I've made a lot of really good friends here now, and the friends that I had here initially, all successful guys now. It's cool to see them kind of get their dues and kind of do it together. It's a lot of fun.
So I'm sure you are kind of getting tired of telling the story, but you have to tell your story because it's like, this is what dreams are made of. Like, people think, not that you hadn't put in the years ahead of time, but like the actual moment is so bizarre to me that this is how like your moment happened. Cause you're like riding in an Uber, right?
Yeah.
Just like with a random Uber driver.
Yeah.
And then you see him again a year later.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I think it was 2019 when I started like making trips down to Nashville, and I was crashing on my buddy's couch and just writing with whoever would write with me, right? And during that time period, I had never really seen Nashville, like the city part of it, and so we went out to eat one night and got an Uber, and we're like, just chatting with this guy, nice dude. He starts telling us about how he'd been in town for like 20 years writing songs and had some cuts with a few different artists over the years and all this. And we kind of take it with a grain of salt in Nashville. You're like,
because everybody's a songwriter.
Yeah, you're like, dude, you're driving Uber. Like, come on.
But now you understand it's like, you got to be driving Uber to actually make money.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I kind of took it with a grain of salt and just, chatted for a while, dropped us off, peaced out, never thought I'd see him again, went on our own way. Well, like you said, fast forward a year from that, I'd finally moved to town. I was living here. I got a part-time gig over at Opry Mills working at Lucky Brand, if you can imagine that.
Yes, you did.
I did, yeah.
I love that.
I did. 75% discount sold me. I was like, all right.
I mean, Lucky Jeans were all the rage.
What do you mean were?
Are currently still. I mean, you're wearing them now, right?
No, I'm not. But,
you can make that your signature style,
Yeah, I mean, I'm all ears if they want to reach out. I'm pretty sure I'm still employed there. I don't think I actually quit. I might still be employed, but no, I was just working one day, and like I said, a year after that Uber drive, right? And I'm working, and this dude walks in. And I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere.
That's crazy you actually remembered him.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. You see somebody's face and you're like, I feel like we've met. And
y'all had like a pretty in-depth conversation, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, for the time that we had, yeah, I felt like we got to know each other pretty well. But yeah, I just kind of, we just kind of hit it off again, and I realized that he was my Uber driver from a year earlier, and we started chatting. He was like, dude, send me, because I told him, I was like, man, I'm just kind of grinding and writing songs and making demos in my bedroom and whatever I can do to get my foot in the door. And he was like, well, I'd love to try to write some stuff if you're down. And so this was like all during COVID, right? So it was kind of a weird time just in general, but we ended up getting on Zoom and we wrote, I think, 3 songs, just he and I, and we started like probably 2 other ideas. And he hit me up a couple days after we wrote the second or third song was like, man, I'd love to pull some of my buddies in on these other two ideas if you're cool with it, just to help us, get them done. I'm like, sure. And so he ended up pulling in Jason Aldean's bandmates, Kurt Allison and Tully Kennedy, and they had been writing together for 10 years, just for Aldean stuff and whatnot. So we ended up finishing, I think, 2 songs all together, all 4 of us, and they sent those songs to Jason as a pitch. Like,
were you singing them?
Yeah, I was singing the demo. And so they sent him to Jason, and he was like, songs are cool, like, who is this kid? I've never heard of this guy in my life. So, yeah, it was probably, I would say 2 weeks after that, I was cutting my grass one day and get a phone call, and thankfully answered it, and he was like, hey, man, this is Jason Aldean.
What in the world?
Yeah.
That is like, what do you do when you get that call?
I mean,
believing it?
I was sprinting inside to find my roommate, because I'm like, if this is real, I need a witness, This is not a prank call. But yeah, he was just super cool. He was just like, man, I heard some of your stuff, and, just wanted to chat with you. He's like, I started a publishing company and a record label a couple of years ago, and we've been kind of waiting for the right time and the right person to come along to sign and kind of be the flagship guy for that.
But he had never even met you? He had never laid eyes on you?
No.
Did he know? Had he seen a picture of you or anything?
I like to think not.
He just heard your voice and was like, that guy?
No.
That is wild.
So I forgot this. So it was probably before he called me, Tully, one of his bandmates, had texted me and was like, hey, man, can you just real quick, like, throw down an acoustic version of you, like, singing one of the songs we just wrote, just you and a guitar or whatever. So I'm like, sure, yeah. Literally had grass all over me. Like, this, I think it might have been the same day. And I just remember being covered in grass and, like, sweaty, and I put my phone up and I'm like playing this song down, play it, get it done, send it off, don't think anything else of it, right?
Okay.
Apparently that video got sent to him. Yeah.
That was your pitch.
Yeah, that was my showcase.
That was your showcase.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's perfect. It's not all done up. You're just being a real person.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were going for. Like, let's just see what it is raw, because that's a good place to start. But apparently I did good enough, passed my exam, and yeah, it was really cool. He's just he's been such a cool guy to have in my corner.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. Yeah, just very knowledgeable about the industry, and knowledgeable about songs. I mean, he's got a great ear for songs, so it's been cool to have that to bounce some things off of and say, hey, what would you do here in this situation?
So you can just chat him and talk to him anytime for advice. Is he like your mentor, kind of? Like, if you have a question, will you just holler at him? Yeah,
I mean, I try to be respectful of his time. I know how it is now. Trying to have time for family and all that stuff. But yeah, if I have a question, he's always down to hop on a call or, text back and forth. We text quite a bit, just stuff like that, especially with, now it's been cool. The interesting part is seeing him put on like a co-label head hat, where he's like, it's like, hey man, you gotta help, you gotta make some decisions here, and he's been so cool about like just being really involved in my stuff and, really having a voice and stating his opinion. You don't ever have to wonder what he's thinking. He's one of those kind of guys. Yeah, I love it. He's very honest with me. It tells me straight up. So we connected pretty early on because of that. I was just like, man, I'm kind of the same way. I'm not trying to BS anybody. I don't have time for that. Like, so he keeps it real with me, and it's been cool kind of watching our friendship and work relationship develop. It's cool.
So you started off as a writer. So after you got that phone call and you made your pitch video, and did you get signed right away? Was it pretty fast?
It was pretty fast. Yeah. I would say a couple months.
You got signed straight to his publishing company?
Yeah.
And label or just publishing company?
No, both. Yeah.
Both? He signed you as an artist and a writer right away.
Yeah.
Holy cow,
I know,
John.
I know.
I'm
That's
sorry.
what I said.
That is incredible.
It really is. Looking back on it, I mean, it's just, I think, like I said, COVID was weird in a lot of ways, but I think for me, the blessing for me was that he wasn't on the road as much as he would have been probably had that not been the case. And so I think he was kind of looking for a reason to invest more time into this thing that he had started, right?
And maybe he hadn't had the time to do it yet, like you said, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and so this was kind of his moment where he's like, okay, let me really focus on my publishing company and record label.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It really does. So, yeah, it was a blessing for me in that regard. But, yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed, like back to something you mentioned earlier, like I never manifested I was going to write all these songs for him, right?
So you wrote 16? 16, is that right? 20? How many songs have you written?
I guess 16 cuts, I believe, so far. Yeah. And
you've had hits with him too. Like a couple number ones, maybe? Like the Carrie Underwood duet?
Yep. That was my first cut. Yeah.
Are you like, What Is Life, or did you always just know this was going to come?
No, What Is Life for sure. No, you always like, I feel like you have to believe in yourself to an extent, right? Because why would you move down here? Why would you take a chance on selling and leaving everything if you really don't believe in yourself enough to do it and make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's always kind of been there. But then, I guess expectations get exceeded when something like that happens. You're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. Like now, like for me, being an artist, like was the end goal dream. Like I always wanted to write my own stuff and be able to perform it. I knew that writing would probably make that more acquirable a lot faster. And so that's what really made me kind of shift gears and be like, okay, I'm seeing a trend with some guys who are like starting off as songwriters before they're like putting out their debut record or like doing these things that artists do. And it's seemingly like, to me, I was just like, it makes the most sense, right? Because not only are you getting some of that financial help that does allow you, like we were talking about earlier, to support you on the road, but it's also like helping you find your sound too.
Yeah,
like,
that's very true.
And find your voice. Like, what do you want to say as an artist? I feel I was always like under the impression I didn't put out any music on my own before I moved to Nashville, because
not any. So you didn't have anything out there?
No.
Nothing. Even with your former band?
I did, but that,
you got to dig that up. What were y'all called, please? What's your name?
That's a story for another time.
Is it still out there in the wild?
We'll see if you find it. You're on your own. No, there's some stuff out there, but nothing under my name.
Okay.
Nothing like that was me as a solo artist. So I was just always like very critical about what I was writing, because that was one of the early lessons I learned in moving to Nashville was like, you get here, you start writing with guys for like signed writers or hit writers or whatever it may be, and you're like, the process isn't that much different than what I was doing back home before I knew any of the industry lingo or like platforms or layouts for songs, like bridges, and like before I knew any of that stuff, I was still at the core doing what these guys are doing, which is coming up with an idea and like trying to write to that idea as much as you can, and like hopefully it has a flip on the hook or whatever. Like I didn't know what any of that stuff was, but I was still trying to do it. And that was a cool thing when I started writing with guys here that were signed and had stuff going on. It was like, okay, I can do this, because my ideas from North Carolina, like before I moved here, they weren't bad ideas. I just wasn't hitting them on the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get them there. And so
totally. But honestly, I think the hardest part about songwriting and having songs that really connect are having real ideas, which I feel like you obviously connect with like truth, because I mean, Jason fell in love with all your songs. Your album is awesome. Like it's so good. Kid Myself, that one hits me so hard. I'm like, man, that song is so good.
Thank you.
And you just put it out, Carolina Blue.
Yeah.
But all your songs, I can feel your story through them. Like, it doesn't feel like you just came to Nashville and you just like got in a room with hit songwriters and you're just like writing a song trying to chase radio.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is exhausting. You know, when you hear a new artist and it's like, oh my God, okay, anybody could sing this song. You know,
Right.
like I actually
100%.
feel like these are your stories.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of that and why that it probably is because I had 4 or 5 years to like prep for this debut project, right? I was writing songs predominantly. I just had a pitch first mindset, like, oh, let's see if we can get so and so to cut this or whatever. I was trying to work those angles like first and foremost. But then when we would write something where I was like, ooh, like for instance, when we wrote Carolina Blue, it's probably close to 5 years old now. When we wrote that song, I was like, if I ever put out a project, this will be the title track.
How did you know that?
It was just, I don't know. I just knew that it was just a light bulb moment, I guess.
It's kind of talking about your upbringing, how you like miss Carolina.
Yeah, it was just, it represented me really well, I feel like. And in that moment, it's probably the best representation of me at that time. So I was like, I'm going to hang on to that one. I knew it probably just because of the song format, like probably wouldn't be a radio single, but I was like, I'm going to cut that song, you know? And so this album is just a culmination of all those songs that hit me that way when we were writing them. And I was just like, I like that. That's something I would say as an artist, you know. Friends was the same way. It was like, that would be fun in our live set, you know? So we cut it and put it out, and then obviously ended up reworking it with Aldine and kind of revisiting that whole thing. But yeah, it's just it's been a lot of fun to do that. I had a lot of fun on the production side of it because I got to co-produce this whole project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with my buddy Brent Anderson, and shout out to my label for being very cool and letting me be hands-on.
Broken Bow is a leader in letting artists be artists.
Yeah.
We were talking about with your publicist and manager earlier, and it's like, I feel that way. Like, Broken Bow really lets artists be themselves, which they should. That's the whole reason why you're unique and special, and people want to hear what you have to say anyway.
Yeah, why sign something to change it, you know?
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the big, you know, that was one of the big selling points for me with the label, was just like early on they made it kind of known that if you're doing it and it sounds good and it's up to par with everything else, you can have some creative freedom. And that was very encouraging because I was like, with this specific project, I just wanted it to be as authentic to me as it could be.
And this is going to set the tone for the rest of your career.
Exactly.
You know, and like the amount of control you have personally and the amount of say you have, like, you know, you standing your ground and like being such an integral part of the production and picking the songs and how it sounds, like that sets the tone for the rest of your career.
100%. Yeah.
And if you turn it all over now, then you're going to get lost in the whole system.
Which happens very often.
Happens all the
very
time.
Often.
And it's a sad story to see.
It is. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, you know, it's just, it all starts with the song too. Like, if you don't have the songs, good luck.
Right.
You know?
Totally. You can't really what are you turning anything into? You know, you're trying to pull magic out of a hat.
Yeah.
You can have like the look and a voice, but it's like the songs are who the artist is, you know?
Yeah.
That's actually the soul behind it all.
Yeah, that's what fans connect to, in my opinion, is the song. They're able to take a song like Carolina Blue that talks about Carolina very specifically and hopefully translate it into their own life and like relate to it in that way. And that's the fun part about songwriting to me, is like writing something, like you said, that's something I either lived out or was very close to, saw happen or whatever, and then leaving it just vague enough for people to put themselves in your shoes, you know, and hopefully connect with it on that level. But yeah, I just had so much fun. It reminded me, when I got to produce this whole thing, it was reminding me why I moved here. You know, I got here, I was here for, like I said, handful of years focusing on this and that, and then you kind of get in that grind where you're just like, you got to zoom out for a minute and be like, okay, I'm about to do my debut album, my first full-length album. Like, I want to do it right. I want to do it the way I would have wanted to done it 5 years ago before I moved here, you know? And so it was just so much fun and like a creative release way of just like getting to block off like a month and a half, 2 months of whatever touring and everything to just get in the studio and like woodshed, like just actually getting the weeds on stuff. And we just basically like created a bed for all the tracks in Brent's basement studio and just like beat our head against the wall until we got it where we wanted it. And then went over to Farmland Studios, did overdubs there, and had drums and bass and steel, and that was kind of our process. So it was very low stress on that end of things and gave us a lot of control on the front end.
So when are you having time to fall in love in all this process? Are you breaking hearts? Are you the heartbreaker? Are you the breakee? You have some songs on this album. She'll Always Be, Kid Myself, which I personally, that's one I keep coming back to listen to. I'm like, man, that song is just hypnotic. It's so good.
Thank you.
But it feels like maybe you might have been a heartbreaker. Are there some women, one woman, some women?
All right, let's pause for just a second. No plural.
Woman?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you had like one relationship that was pretty big before your wife? I need to know.
I think I need my attorney here for this. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it was pretty normal. I had a few relationships, you know, back home, but you know, it's like some are more serious than others, right? And those are kind of the ones that you remember more. But yeah, that was about a specific one that I was in before, like I had decided to move to Nashville, and so
you kind of left that relationship back home.
Yeah, it was. I
mean, like breaking up with your hometown in every aspect, almost.
Oh yeah, it was a clean, like, cold cut, which looking back was, you know, I didn't realize that it was that at the time, but it definitely was in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was just bad timing, you know. I feel like it wasn't necessarily like two people that just would never get along. It was just I was in a headspace of like I'm happy and in a lot of ways, like I'm making good money. I was about to take my dad's business over, like trying to do all these different things. Bought a piece of property.
In your hometown?
Yeah.
What's your dad's business?
He had a property management business.
So you were getting ready to plant some roots in your hometown.
Yeah.
And then you had like a crisis moment and you just like bolted?
Well, thank you for putting that in such a good light. No,
I'm trying to find your trauma here.
Yeah.
Okay, John?
I don't know that I had as much trauma, but it was, I just knew that, you know.
But you were literally like, you're buying land, going to take over dad's business. You're probably like in your early 20s. This is right before you moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
Did you and your dad have issues? Did he get mad at you for not taking it over?
You know what? No. My dad's, like I said, he's very old school, but he's always been supportive of me doing music. That's the one thing I've always been thankful for. Both of my parents. I mean, you know, my mom, you know, didn't like a lot of the stuff that I was writing about per se and in the beginning, but you know, they've always been supportive of me doing this because they knew I loved it. You know, they knew it was something that I was passionate about, and I spent so many hours and days and late nights down at my dad's woodworking shop, like literally just one piece of equipment at a time. I would slowly move out because at that time he had added on this section to his shop, right, to do all this woodworking. He had all these tools, but it was a hobby thing for him and he didn't really have a lot of time to do it at that time. And so I would just slowly move things out until I made it into a music room. And so I would, you know, basically live down there. It was like a little studio apartment. I would just, I finished it out, put flooring in it, painted it, like, you know, put all my music stuff in there. So it was like a time of life where I'd been out of music for like 2 years at that point too. So
okay, so your band with your cousins was over.
Yeah.
You were kind of at that spot where it's like, okay, I kind of probably need to figure something out, make a move here. And so your choice is probably the right choice felt like to take your dad's business over.
Yeah.
To probably marry your girl that you're with.
Yeah.
to settle down, buy this land, and then you start the process and you have a freaking panic attack, don't you? I've had a couple panic attacks in my life, and I've done some majorly crazy things.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting to embark on the wrong course, even though it's not like your dad's business is wrong and this woman's wrong, but it's like, that's not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Exactly.
you had that moment.
Yeah. I feel like most people probably have, right?
Yeah.
You have that. It's like piss or get off a pot, right?
But you know what?
Like,
Kudos to you. Honestly, I'm just saying, like, we have a close friend right now who's going through a divorce with a kid because the wife figured out the moment too late, So, like, I know, like, the heartbreak up front sucks and, like, doing that in the beginning, but I admire you for doing that before you bring kids into the world. Not that you can't repair any of it. Like, anybody can move on from anything.
Sure.
But, like, for having the gusto to just go ahead and, like, pull the Band-Aid off right when you start to realize it, instead of let it get deeper into it,
Sure.
it just gets harder the longer you drag it out.
Yeah, 100% it does.
How did you know that you had to go? Like, how did you know? And, like, how did you tell everybody?
Kind of Irish goodbye. A lot of people, will be honest with you.
Just left in the middle of the night.
Basically,
You're like, bye. Like, woke up and you just weren't there.
Well, you know, it's hard to tell people, like.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst.
It's the worst. Yeah. So
Especially
I just avoided that.
When you're in deeply committed relationships and taking over businesses, talking about marriage, that's difficult.
No, it was. I think. I mean, you said it. You have the moment where you're like, because I just remember. There's a specific moment because I went to college for a little bit too, right? In between quitting the band, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go down to college for. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so it didn't last long.
Because you knew you wanted to do music.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just trying to figure something else out. Because music might have felt like too far off or something.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of an unachievable. Like pipe dream for sure at that time.
So you're going to try to be reasonable and try to get a real job, get some skills. Not that you didn't have like skills just from growing up where you did, but like.
Oh, I had skills.
I know. I mean, y'all have skills when you grow up in the backwoods of North Carolina.
No, I would not as many as I'd like to have, but yeah, you definitely. I was just kind of in that spot where I'm like, okay, I tried this, I did this. I'm happy enough, but am I like truly happy?
But you knew it because like that inner calling was calling hard, but like it's a hard one to answer.
Very much so. And I'm a homebody anyways. I love North Carolina. I'd probably still live there if I didn't do all
blue,
this.
Baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's just a great spot to live. And I don't know. I just remember.
Okay, so you tried college and now you have a moment and you're like, you're coming back home, you're settling down, you're going to commit to this life.
Yeah.
And then?
Yeah, and then I don't know, I just really, I was just like, I'm not happy, I gotta, and I knew music had been out of my life, like I said, for a year, 2 years at that point.
And you had really missed it?
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but I was just not in a good headspace. It was just kind of, I wasn't it takes a lot for me to like flip a switch, but I wasn't necessarily in that mode. I was just more of like kind of lethargic about things that I should have probably been, more focused on. And so that definitely hurt that relationship, if you can believe that. But yeah, it was just bad timing. I mean, that's kind of what that song "Kid Myself" is all kind of self-explanatory about.
It's kind of like an apology almost, isn't it?
It is. And honestly, to myself a little bit too, it's like,
it's the truth.
Yeah, it just is.
I mean, it's the truth. When you're in your early 20s and you're like trying to be the man that you think you're supposed to be stepping into, but your soul is calling you to be something else, and no one quite understands what your calling is but you, and you don't really even understand your calling.
Yeah.
And then you finally decide to go for it, but yet you have to leave this past life and all these people who love you, who want you here.
Right.
I mean, how can you make a perfectly clean break? It's gonna be messy, it's gonna be hurtful, and you don't have the tools, or even you don't know what you're doing, because you've barely even been alive enough to have a clear idea on how to do any of this correctly. You don't even know where you're going or what you're trying to get to.
Exactly.
You just know you're not where you're supposed to be, so it's definitely gonna be a mess.
Yeah, and as you've learned, I'm very much a planner. Not. So, factor that in. No, it was just a moment where I just remember being home, not happy, knew that I wasn't where I needed to be. And I was just like, my friend, who's actually my drummer now, he would text me, moved about a year before I did from North Carolina to Wright.
That's nice. So you had somebody.
Yeah. And he was like, man, he would hit me up every weekend. You got to come down. You got to come. When are you moving? Like, come on. And I was just like, that was kind of in the back of my brain too, a little bit in that moment. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to do it, I got to go now. It's like you said, I got to
go now. Because if you start putting the roots, it's going to be so hard to get out.
Yep. And I knew that. And
it's so hurtful to everybody. Like, it's already going to hurt now, but like it's going to really hurt later.
Yeah, for sure. So I, just Irished goodbye to everybody, and here I am.
Maybe that's why I like Kid Myself so much, because like I feel your turmoil in that song.
Yeah.
Like
that's cool.
Feel it. Like I'm like, I feel all your songs. Like they're so great. But like when I feel that one, I'm like, man, you really went through it with that one. Like it feels so real. Like that felt like a moment in your life that was like a pivotal turning point.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It was just it
changed everything for you, really.
Yeah. I wouldn't be doing this had I not made that decision. I think I get asked that a lot. What would you tell, somebody who's wanting to move to Nashville? I'm like, the biggest hump I think is just actually getting here. Just taking that leap of faith. That is so true. Yeah, because you're not relevant if you're not here. If people don't see your face, there's 1,000 other guys standing in line to take that slot. So why would they pick you? If they don't remember, if you're not relevant in their mind every week or every
showing
month.
Up for it, showing that you're willing to show up and like get here and like be here. Something about that, even if it's like subconscious, that goes a long way.
It does, yeah.
So when you did Hillbilly Slip, Irish Goodbye, and get here, were you excited? Like, how did you feel when you finally landed in Nashville? I'm guessing you moved in with your drummer or like stayed with him.
I did stay with him for a little while, and then
were you freaking out, or were you like, oh my God, I'm so relieved?
A little bit of both, but
also like, what have I done?
yeah. Also, how am I going to pay rent?
Did your parents get on board right away, or was it a little bit of like you had to finesse that for a little while to get back to good graces?
I think once my dad and I kind of made peace with like, hey man, this is not my calling. Like, I love doing this and working for you and.
Love you. Yeah,
exactly. But it's just, this is what I feel like I should do. And like I said, they're very supportive. There was never an issue about that. I think they knew a little bit more about what I was getting into than I might have at the time. And so there's probably that fear of just like it not working out and being like, ooh, that's
a big
tough.
Gamble.
Yeah. So.
And then your dad probably needed to move on and get someone else to help him. And so it was like a window. It was just a window for everything. Yeah,
it was. And then it's like you look back and things fell into place like they should have. So
how do you say that? With you and everyone? Or like when you look back, like, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but like, do you feel like it all worked out for everybody for the better? Like because you posted something, you're like, when you walked back into your hometown, all the versions you could have been or something.
Yeah.
Do you feel like everybody ended up where they needed to be?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think it was good. The business side of it, like it would have been a grind for me doing that too. I mean, I would have been running a crew and doing a lot of back and forth. His business was like an hour away up in Cashiers, North Carolina. So it would just been a lot on that end of things. But he ended up finding a buyer for the business that bought him out. And so there's little things like that were like good confirmation things where I'm like, wow, that's cool to see, But yeah, I would say, I mean, I hope it worked out in the best way for everyone. It definitely, I feel like, did for me. So selfishly, I'm, grateful, but.
And kind of like the whole Jason Aldean story falling out of the sky. It's almost like that feels like confirmation too.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction is like Newton's law of physics. So it's
Yeah.
like you made this huge action step. Like you made a huge decision to like go a different way,
Yeah.
and like put everything into it. And so like you put all that energy into this decision. So it's like it's going to like karmically circle back around and find you.
Yeah.
So now it kind of makes sense why this like big thing feels like it fell out of the sky, but it's like you made that big energy push,
Yeah.
So it kind of matches up.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, you gotta make that decision too.
You have to.
Yeah.
And it's risky and it's scary and it's like you have to go straight into the freaking forest with all the trees and thorns and bears and like just like pray that
watch out
you're
for,
doing
don't pet any of them.
Don't pet any of them. Just like keep walking.
Yeah.
So how'd you meet your wife?
We actually met at a birthday party when we've both been in town for like not very long. Neither one of us had a lot of friends. And yeah, we ended up meeting at her. Let's see, it was her best friend from back home had moved down here for work too, and she was dating a guy that I was friends with at the time.
Her best friend was dating a guy that you were friends with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know any of them, but he was like, hey, he was a new friend in town. And he was like, I'm having a birthday party, you should come. So like by the end of the night, she gave me her cupcake and I was like, I like her. Yeah.
Did y'all start dating right away?
No. We just kind of off and on for a little while. I was like hyper focused on like getting signed. I was just like,
so you hadn't had all this stuff happen yet when you met her?
No, I was still mixing demos in my bedroom.
Working at Lucky
a lot more than I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was definitely not this. It was a lot more of a grind in a different way. You're trying to make a name for yourself. You're trying to get noticed. You're trying to, let people see you as a legit artist or a legit writer, and like keep that pressure on yourself to be consistent. And any opportunity you got to be in a room, like you gotta be on, right?
Yeah.
So
you gotta be ready.
Yeah, it was just a lot of that. So I was like not even close to being in that headspace. But
when did the timing circle back around?
When
the baby
you're
came.
really quizzing me on this timeline stuff.
So I know.
I'm trying to think. It was not too much longer.
Okay.
Maybe a year after we met initially, probably. Yeah, I honestly, it's that whole era of my life is kind of a blur in a lot of ways, because we literally like found out we were having Willie, and I was like immediately going on tour. So I was like, "This is amazing! I'll see you in a month," So it was a fun time, but yeah, again, it's just like same kind of thing. You have little things along the way that are confirmation that it's gonna be good. It's gonna be all right.
How has fatherhood changed you?
It's changed my perspective on a lot of things for sure. Just the phase of life we're talking about just now. It's like you have all these dreams and aspirations for yourself, right? I want to do this. I want to achieve this. I want to do that. Now it's like I have a whole different mindset, right? Nothing is about me anymore. It can't be, right? And I needed that as a human being. I needed that. Oh yeah. It was, I would never say I was like, obsessed with myself kind of person.
You're just super focused and driven.
Yeah, you are subconsciously in a lot of ways where you're just like focused on me and me. What am I going to do? And how is this going to work for me? And, and then your whole world gets rocked when you got a little girl coming, and definitely gave me a lot of perspective changes, but also like, you're grinding for different reasons now too. It's like to give them a better life, to, make sure they're covered on all ends and make sure they're taken care of. I mean, that's the majority of my drive now is like doing that. So yeah, it definitely has changed me in a lot of ways. Made me a better person in a lot of ways too, just in the general, sense of that. But it's so much fun. That's the thing that, didn't realize what happened. I always knew I wanted to be a dad, right? I was like, messed a lot of things up in my life. I'm not going to be a screw up dad. That was the one time I made myself that promise. And, so it was like, I knew I was going to do all the stuff, right? Check all the boxes, but I didn't realize how much fun it was going to be. Like just having, a little 3-year-old daughter that can like speak more intelligently than me sometimes. I'm like, where did that even come? How do you, yeah, it's so funny just like watching them develop and personalities and all that stuff is very fun, and it goes way faster when you're on the road, so you have to like absorb it when you get a chance, but it's so much fun. I love it.
I actually didn't know I could love as deeply as I could. I've never felt a love that hurts,
Yeah.
It like hurts your existence.
It does.
It's painful.
In the best way.
In the best way.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like the most painfully beautiful love because it's so much bigger than yourself, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, because like I was the same way, so motivated, so self-motivated for so long, and then have a daughter and it's like, oh my God, holy cow, like nothing. I don't even know what I was dreaming before.
Yeah.
Like I really don't even care.
I know.
I do, but not at all like I used to.
Same. That's one of the funny questions that people have asked me in the last years, like, so what do you do for fun? And I'm like, I honestly don't remember.
Hang out with your kids?
I don't even remember what hobbies are, I'm like, when I'm home now, and I just like hanging out with them and trying to, spend time there. But yeah, it is funny, like thinking about that. It's like, what did I used to do? I mean, like, obviously nothing too productive, I guess. But yeah, it's amazing. There's nothing like it. I feel like, again, you can plan something to death, but at the end of the day, it's like some things are better when they come out of left field,
Mm-hmm. Well, John Morgan, this has been so fun.
It has
Thank you
been
for sharing
fun.
the depths of your soul with
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
I
you
really
got a lot out of me in
I
a
was
short
digging
time.
for it. I was like, I'm gonna find that spot. I was like, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna find that treasure trove.
You got it.
Okay, before we wrap up though, where can everyone find your stuff? Carolina Blue is out, debut album.
Yep.
You got a single out with Jason Aldean. Did just go #1?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
How fun is that?
It's pretty fun.
That feels pretty great.
It's pretty
Friends Like
fun.
That. Crickets was out before that.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah,
and then is Kid Myself gonna be your next single? I hope so.
I believe so.
It is?
Yeah. You got to add date. I think I can say that.
I mean, I'm just saying,
know.
I hope it's your next single. Whatever y'all decide is great. Your whole team's like,
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we have an ad date. I don't know.
I feel like that song is so good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's your next single. I was just calling it.
Yeah.
I don't even know anything about your team or what you've had planned, but like I just personally was calling that for the next
That's
one.
amazing. That's a little confirmation.
There you
Appreciate
go.
you.
Mm-hmm. And that was the one that was like, oof, this one.
Yeah.
This one's good. This is like, this is real.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's also like the melody is so hypnotic.
Well, Tyler Hubbard had a huge hand in that.
Did you write that, Tyler?
Really that with Tyler.
That's
First time
awesome.
I met him, first time we wrote, I was really nervous about it. And
Oh, I bet.
yeah.
Florida Georgia Line. I mean,
Yeah, well, you have this perception of like who somebody's gonna be, and you're like, God, I hope he's cool.
he's
And
like the greatest guy.
so cool, yeah,
Uh-huh.
so cool, great writer. I had stayed up all night the night before, like trying to get an idea that was worth anything, and
Probably didn't write any of them.
no, well, we actually it was like the one time that was a confirmation thing for me in the writing sense, because I'd kind of been focusing a lot on artist stuff, and it was like, get this big right, and I'm like, okay, I got to get back
Can't mess
into
this
this
one up.
mindset. And so I was like going through phone titles on my phone the night before, and I came across Kid Myself, and I was like, that's interesting. And then I like found an old guitar riff that I just laid down for whatever, and kind of married the two, and then literally wrote like a full scratch chorus just to get myself there, and got the hook as teed up as I could get it. And I went in the next morning and pitched him another idea, and we chased it for like 2.5 hours, and we just hit a wall. And I was like, oh my God, of course this happens
You're
to
like,
me.
this is my nightmare.
Yeah. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, I don't even know if I can get through this now.
You're
So
just
I was
dying
like, hey,
inside.
yeah, I was like, hey, I've got this other idea called Kid Myself and whatever.
Because when you hit a wall and there's just no coming back from it, like you can't force it.
No, you can't. especially when everybody hits it and you're just like, you feel it
and
in
you're
the
like, are we
room.
really gonna like try to wrap this thing up and die, or can we just like move on?
Yeah,
And
thankfully,
then y'all probably whipped that one out in like no time, right?
yeah, probably 2 hours. Yeah, it was wild. It just kind of fell out, and yeah, Tyler had a huge hand in getting it where it needed to be. So it was a lot of fun. It's it's probably the newest song on the album, which is cool. But yeah, I'm super grateful to have this project out, and love the response we're hearing back on it so far. And yeah, I'm just excited to get to play some of these new songs out live too. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I mean, I think you're just a testament to everyone listening. I always like to like drop some good advice, but like just follow your truth, you know? Like you literally have like followed your truth, and you're living your truth, and like things are coming to you when you're in your truth.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like the whole secret to life, really.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of bravery to do that oftentimes.
Yeah. It takes a work ethic too. You gotta be willing to put in the time doing all the stuff you don't want to do to get to do the one thing you do want to do. And that's kind of been my life, in a nutshell, since being in Nashville. Is like, I didn't sign up to be a freaking comedian on social media, but as part of the gig, right? You got to get good at that. You got to get good at all these things that you don't necessarily love, or like stuff you have to do that come with it to get to go do the big stuff that you did, move here to do. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. Yeah, you're right. Just step out and know, if you know what you're trying to get to, then, take that step.
I always wrap up with leave your light, and it's just drop some inspiration. What do you want people to know? Just to drop them a little inspiration.
Just in general, or?
Yeah, just like a little piece of inspiration to inspire anyone listening based on your own life.
Yeah. I mean, I try to, my life is music, right? So I'm like, can't get out of that headspace. But there was actually a girl that asked me this the other day, like, kind of a similar question to what we were talking about. Like, if I move to Nashville, what's the first thing that I should do? I feel like if you are in that spot, and there's a lot of people, that are, just for one, know who you are as a songwriter. Like, write songs. It doesn't, even if you're not the best, songwriter, like, you'll be able to figure out what your sound is or isn't. That was one thing that in the last 5 years, I didn't necessarily know what my lane was sonically, but I figured out what it wasn't for writing with other people. Because I'm like, this is really cool, and if so and so cuts this, then I'm gonna love chasing that for them. But if I were to do it and I was the one cutting it, I might do it a little bit differently. So I don't know. I guess I know it's industry talk, probably not what you were wanting, but like, if you are in that spot and you're thinking about moving to town or moving somewhere for a music gig, just like buckle down and focus on what are you at the core? Like, what are your strong suits? What are your weaknesses? Figure those out very soon, because you don't have to be some well-oiled machine when you get put in a room with a hit songwriter or somebody that's signed. Like, you just gotta contribute in whatever way.
To the table.
Yeah, be a chameleon. Adapt to, if you've got a great lyricist in the room, focus on the melody. Focus on something else that is in correlation with what they do. And I think it's going to help you just all the way around, as far as like having tools in your bag. When you do get in those situations, you can kind of contribute no matter what the situation is. So
I love it.
Yeah.
John Morgan, your story is so inspiring.
Thank you.
So can we do like a tiny little, draw like 4 questions and answer them, and then I have to wrap up because my daughter's graduating from preschool, so this will be very fast.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining me. Your story was amazing.
Thanks
this was
for having
awesome.
me. It was.
John Morgan, y'all get his album Carolina Blue. It's out everywhere, and it's so inspiring, and I'm excited about Kid Myself next. I'm just happy that I called it. I still got it.
You got it.
You're the best. Okay, bye.